From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and Akashvani, this is Stumped.
Hello and welcome to Stumped, your intercontinental hit of news, features and debate from the quirky world of cricket. I'm Alison Mitchell in Manchester, happy to be back on Stumped after a really great time working at Wimbledon. And I definitely wasn't in two places at the same time commentating on the legality of an Akashdeep delivery at Edgbaston, as some people thought. But I've been following the women's series as well now between England and India before Test action again for me at Old Trafford. And I am, of course, playing plenty of paddle in between.
Ali, you look fresh to play the game here as we look forward to a weekend of Test cricket at Lord's and the pink ball at Sabina Park. Jim Maxwell here in Sydney. Hope you're enjoying yourself.
Well, we're certainly waiting for the Lord's Test as well to show us where this series is going to go. This is Charu Sharma for Akashvani in Pondicherry, as might have promised last time around. There's a Pondicherry Premier League going on. It's a quaint union territory on the eastern coast of India, and we're delighted to be supporting cricket at different levels.
Well, great to see you both. I'm in the confines of the BBC studio here in Salford, so a little bit of a different surroundings for me. It's nice to be with everybody, all the Stump team in person over here in the UK. First, England and India's men, are in action in the third test of the Anderson Tendulkar Trophy at Lord's, with the series tied at 1 apiece after India's emphatic 336-run win at Edgbaston. England have brought in Jofra Archer for this one, but it was another fast bowler, Akashdeep, who really impressed in that second test. Charu, it was an historic victory, a first for India at Edgbaston, no less. Deep is fairly new to Test cricket, so just can you tell us a little bit more about him? Because he's had quite a difficult journey to get here, hasn't he?
Well, a lot of cricketers, of course, have that kind of a journey in India. Very famously, the other big star right now for India, who opens Jaiswal. You might remember his story. But Akash, of course, comes from Bihar, the neighbouring state of West Bengal. His family must move to Bengal a lot earlier. And I know there's a little something going around on the internet of my very good friend Arun Lal, who's been talking a bit about the early days of Akashdeep. Very, very humble as always. And his biggest, weakness, I suppose, was just a little bit of lack of self-belief and self-confidence, even though, as I did mention last week on Stump, by the way, that he was probably India's best replacement for Bumrah because of his nagging accuracy. He makes you play virtually every single delivery. But anyway, back to the fact that he started out very humbly in Bengal and took quite a bit of time to get some, should we say, get into a situation where he was comfortable. Now, of course, he's very comfortable. He's still very humble, mind you, gained a little bit of confidence after that test match. And I have to admit that England might well have thought, and the world thought, that because of a bit of weather delay as well, the test could well head for a draw. But Akashdeep had other ideas. And I'm so glad that he got a 10 for. He's now very much in contention for a permanent slot in the Indian cricket team. And I do think his whole family is now benefiting from the commercial success that Akashdeep has found for himself. He still, by the way, remains very humble. And I think he's probably 3 on 10 when it comes to self-confidence or belief or the show to the rest of the world that he truly belongs where he is. A wonderful addition to the Indian fast bowling squad. Not the quickest, but very, very nagging, very accurate, and moves the ball a little bit both ways, just enough to catch edges.
Yeah, his skills were on full display, weren't they? It's easy to focus on the number of runs that Shubman Gill scored at Edgbaston. I mean, just incredible following on from the way he started in Leeds. But what have you made, Charu and Jim as well, on his captaincy in general? The way he leads the team, his on-field decisions, and the way he's been handling himself in the media as well.
Well, if I were to begin, the captaincy, I suppose the jury is still out, but I did mention on Stump, a couple of times that it's his leading from the front with the bat that's going to speak loudest. Spoken very loudly with that. So all is well with his batting, which was the biggest concern, because much as he was a regular in the Indian side, there were a lot of murmurings about how he's not really living up to his talent in Test match cricket particularly. And he is that sort of a player. Now, a lot of players in India or maybe elsewhere in the world have no choice but to showcase their wares in white ball cricket. But he's a true blue red ball cricketer. And I'm so glad that he's back and showing it in conditions which may not be typically English and the ball moving all over the place on green pitches. But he's done very well. And I suppose now that India have won the test match in Edgbaston, as you said, for the very first time, people are likely to be a lot more generous and will wait for him to showcase what they might consider more astute captaincy skills.
I think he'll enjoy having Bumrah back at Lord's. That'll make a difference. I actually didn't think he handled the spinners very well in the first innings of that test when Smith and Brook were going about their business. They got the line all wrong. They bowled too much loose stuff. I know the pitch was easy as pie and everyone was making some runs if they got themselves in. But he does exert a calmness in his decision-making and deployment of the attack in the field. He's not a bowler, so he needs his bowlers to support his decisions. And in that regard, they did well. They took most of the catches that came their way. So it was a very impressive performance. Confidence is everything, as we all know, in the game. And he certainly produced a fair bit of confidence from his batting in that game, didn't he? And it'd be no surprise the way he's playing if England keep serving up flat pitches, which they seem to like to do these days. That he'll break Bradman's record for the most number of runs in a 5-test series, the way he's going.
Well, Alison, talking about captains and decision-making, what sort of pressure is there back in England on Ben Stokes now?
Well, when it comes to Ben Stokes, yeah, it's either pressure or it's a first real test of his captaincy, because they were thoroughly outplayed at Edgbaston, in all facets. But people from Ben Stokes, it was interesting to listen to Jonathan Agnew, BBC's correspondent, really quiz him about his decision making at the toss. Actually asking is this bowl first a fixed tactic against India? Because, sort of went so much against the run of things that what you would have expected at the toss. And he says, no, it's not a fixed tactic at all. But also his bowling, people want to see him, have all turbines racing and perform that kind of match-turning spell that we've seen so often from him. They also want to see him regain the kind of form that he showed back in the Ashes 2023 with the bat, which was the last time he scored a Test 100. So that will also be playing a little bit on his mind, I'm sure, just his own batting form and batting average, and can he have a big impact on the match as Ben Stokes, the match-winning all-rounder that he is so often used to being. But Jim, one big thing for England on the bowling front is Mark Wood returning to training, because it was thought that he'd missed the whole series because of that knee injury, but he could actually come back for the last test at the Oval. That's what he is hoping to aim for. Like the return of Jofra Archer. How exciting is it to just have for England another player of genuine pace getting back into action? It's
somewhere between exciting and a massive gamble. England's bowling was inadequate. Wokes wasn't up to it on that surface. Carter's got injury problems. Bashir is a lightweight when it comes to bowling spin against teams like India. So England have got big problems, in my opinion, with their bowling for the rest of this series and, of course, beyond that. They need Wood at his best, but he's getting on a bit. Archer's just totally unproven in recent times, so you don't know where that's going to go. I really do wonder, unless Stokes keeps pulling rabbits out of the hat as he can do when he's bowling, how England are going to get on top of India. OK, maybe conditions will be more helpful at Lord's and it will be different. But I think ongoing, England have got serious problems with their bowling against good batting lineups. Yep, there's a lot to work on, that's for sure. And Stokes has looked, the most threatening of the bowlers for most parts. Now, what about India's women? Because they are riding high at the moment. They've made a bit of history of their own by winning their first ever T20 international series in England. And this country, remember, is the venue for next year's T20 World Cup. So boding well for them. They had thumping victories in the first 2 matches, and then another commanding win in the 4th game in Manchester, which has sealed the series 2-1 with a game to spare. I was at the match in Old Trafford and I watched Jemimah Rodrigues hit the winning runs, and I caught up with her afterwards.
The first time of anything feels special, and honestly this team is special. I think it was a total all-round performance by the team, especially with our bowling and our fielding. We've been criticised a lot about our fielding, but the way we fielded today, the way our bowlers stood up when it mattered the most, it gave us an extra cushion in batting. We knew we didn't, because the wicket is not the easy one at Old Trafford, but I think we adjusted well to the conditions.
What was it like being out there in the middle tonight with the bat, chasing that target?
To be honest, I was under a lot of pressure because I knew we needed to get a big partnership in between, because while chasing anything can happen, plus the wicket's not the easiest one. But I knew that as long as we are there, that was what Harman and I were talking. We can make up for it. Even if one odd over in between it doesn't come, we can make up in the next, and that's what we did today.
The WPL is now 3 years old. What are you feeling that as a team, when you get to international level, the benefits that you're reaping from, the WPL matches, the stadiums, the crowds, the pressure of those games?
I think today was a great example of what WPL has done for us, because if you've noticed, we've had so many close matches, the last ball finishes, especially a DC team. We've had like so many over the years, the last ball finishes. And just being there and absorbing that pressure gives you a lot of confidence when you come back and play for India. Because even there you're competing against the best in the world, and such tournaments really help you massively.
The team spirit amongst this group as well seems very tight.
It is. This is like one of the best teams I've been a part of. Everyone's mindset is very different here. Everyone wants to dominate. Everyone wants to do special things in special series. Everyone wants to win matches for India. And I think when you have that vibe, it pushes you a lot more to work harder in the nets and come out here and do something special.
And in 12 months' time in England, at this time, the T20 World Cup will have been played. How far away are you, or where are you in terms of where you want to be as a team for that World Cup on these shores?
T20 is such a tournament where you need to keep getting better. You need to keep pushing yourself to take it on, to step out of your comfort zone and come here. And the best part about playing this series, we are playing in every location that the World Cup's going to be a part of. So it's like a good preparation for us. But as of now, I would only say that us as a team, we're looking to keep improving and keep dominating, getting better each and every day, rather than thinking too much about the future.
So that was Jemimah Rodrigues. What of England, though? No Heather Knight for this series, injured. And captain Nat Sciver-Brunt missed the last two games with injury. Well, it's the third, fourth and onwards. But it's the first series defeat for new coach Charlotte Edwards, who I also spoke to afterwards. Let's start with tonight's match. Where was the match lost from your perspective?
Probably the back 10 with the batting. I thought we sort of did well up until 10 overs, 67 for 2. And I think, we clearly were 20 or 30 short there, and and that's disappointing. But I thought India played exceptionally well. They took all their catches. I thought they bowled exceptionally well. They've been very well disciplined all this trip, and they showed the quality with the bat again.
Where for you then is the room for improvement for England across the series as a whole?
I think our batting. I think it's probably let us down. I think we've got in some good positions at times, and we haven't made that count. Today again was another example of that. So it's been disappointing, it's been frustrating to watch, but I think a lot of credit has to go to India. I mean, you've seen how much they've improved in the last 12 months, and I put a lot of that down to the WPL, playing games under pressure, and how they're catching. I thought they were exceptional today, and we didn't have the answers.
Is this a more accurate reflection of where the team are as opposed to the performances against West Indies?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was a really nice series to come into, the West Indies for me as a coach, but this is reality. This is one of the best teams in the world. This is what we've got to aspire to play against, and we want to be under pressure. And I think at times at the Oval it was amazing how the team fought that night, but we haven't done things consistently enough throughout this series. India have, and hence why they're 3-1 up.
And as coach, have you had time yet, if you like, to do the things you want to do to stamp your mark over a series and a half, I suppose, given there's ODIs still to come?
Look, I'm learning every day. We're talking a lot. We're reviewing really, really well. I think this is just going to take a bit longer than we would have liked. We've come up against a very good team, but what I can tell you is everything's being done behind the scenes to improve us, to get us better. What we've got to remember is, and be realistic, we've lost two key players in Heather Knight and Nat Sciver-Brunt, which is not ideal when we're in a team in transition. And they're two very, very, important middle order players for us, which, nights like tonight you need. But it's an opportunity for the likes of Capsey, Jones and Paige Schofield tonight. So, out of a poor situation, we've got to try and pick the positives out of it.
And that's the England coach Charlotte Edwards. Charu, I thought it was interesting that Edwards voluntarily brought up the impact of the WPL, and Jemimah Rodrigues also attributed a lot of learnings to it.
Well, I think the WPL mirrors what happened at the IPL when it all began. The best players in the world are all getting together, and if there were any vestiges of lack of self-belief in Indian cricket, I think they all vanished when the IPL started, because you're playing with the best from around the world. You're meeting players who were largely adversaries around the world who you didn't really get to know well. But the IPL opened up all those gates, and and the players became a lot closer, understood each other, cultures particularly, if not their cricket and various other thoughts and strategies. So the IPL was a big boon, white ball boon for Indian cricket. And so too, certainly is the WPL, because the Indian girls who were well behind countries such as South Africa, West Indies, and certainly the England team and Australia, suddenly felt that they belonged at that level because all these players got together, they chatted and got to know each other better. And there's no question in my mind that not only did it open up Indian cricket mentally and psychologically, but also athletically. And Charlotte made a point of that, and perhaps Jemimah did as well, that they're all taking their catches, they're running around a lot quicker, they're diving, sliding. And I think those aspects have certainly taken Indian women's cricket to a higher level.
Yeah, and Jim, Edwards is right, isn't she, that India are now a side to really measure yourself against.
Oh, they're the team to beat, yes. Maybe even South Africa and New Zealand to an extent too. England, hopefully, can improve their performance despite the lack of some star quality there without Knight and Silverbrunt, but they've got a fair bit to do, because once Australia gets into a bit of a groove by playing some cricket, they'll start to roll on as they have before. It's just the depth in the Australian side compared to the others that's a big factor. England are in the mix, but somehow they're going to have to find a way to improve, and I guess you can only do that by playing.
If I might quickly add that I think 15 years ago, Indian women's cricket was 20 years behind England and Australia. But they've caught up now. It's like waking up a sleeping giant, because the numbers in India, if more girls take to it, and I still would like to suggest that it's very difficult for an Indian girl to take to any sport. They will certainly produce, lots of cricketers who can play for the country and are physically, athletically, just as good as other cricketers around the world.
Well, that's all we've got time for on this week's Stumped on Akashvani. Don't forget you can follow us on X. We're at BBCWS Sports and use the hashtag BBC Stumped. And check us out on YouTube as well by going to the BBC World Service YouTube channel. My thanks to Charu Sharma and Jim Maxwell, and to all of you for listening. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Stumped is a BBC Sport production for the BBC World Service in association with ABC and Akashvani.